What's up, y'all? Welcome to Shortline Review. I'm the producer, Stephen Ikegbu, aka Slated King, and today we're going to talk about media, photography, and radio. We have our special guests, Hannah Larkin and Marques Ruiz. For more podcasts, interviews, poems, and more, go to shortlinereview.com.
Hello, my name is Marques Ruiz. I'm 20 years old. I am a junior at Rutgers University. I am a journalism and media studies student, and I am also a freelance photographer as well as a filmmaker.
And I am Hannah Larkin. I'm 21 years old. I'm a senior journalism and media studies student, and I am on the radio 90.3 The Core, and I've been a DJ for the past 4 years. And I have a show every Thursday. So
we want to thank you, Marques and Hannah, for joining us today on our podcast. We will be talking about social media marketing and what that means in terms of media production and the digital age today.
All right, so I know both of you work on the media team for Verbal Mayhem. Can you both talk about what that's been like?
With that being said, what is Verbal Mayhem?
All right, so I guess I'll describe it by saying what Verbal Mayhem is to me. It was just like an ultimate, like, educational but like very cool like kickback, you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like I was uncomfortable. Like I didn't know anybody in there, and I pretty much just went by myself. I didn't invite any of my friends because they weren't like into that type of stuff, but it was like an environment that I felt that was very safe for me. Like even though like I was new to it, like it welcomed me in. So it's almost like Verbal Mayhem in that sense is like, it's almost like a shelter, you know what I mean, that you can just like open yourself up verbally, and it's literally like the medicine I feel like people need because they don't, you know, want to open up and they don't want to talk about stuff. So I feel like verbal is a way you could really just like open yourself up and like package yourself into an art form, you know, so people can like, you know, accept what you're saying, and like you can even educate someone because they may have not you know, heard something like that. So I would definitely say overall it's a safe space.
Cathartic, like a release almost.
Yeah, it's definitely like the therapy, like after you broke your leg or something, and like you
like
know,
an emotional breaking your leg.
No, yeah, because because think about it like this: Verbal is the cast, and everyone that comes signs it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's a nice way to say it.
This that was said on Shortline Review. That quote right there by Marques Ruiz. If you guys want to use that.
Facts. It's time.
And you guys have helped brand Verbal, right? With social media, marketing, etc. How do you take something so dope and lit and not have somebody try to steal it or copyright your stuff? Like, how do you guys go about protecting people's work? Like, when you're taking your picture, right, Marques or Hannah, how do you know somebody's not going to steal your picture? How do you know it's copyrighted? What about when you're quoting someone that said something at Verbal for their poem? How can we ensure, or how do you guys ensure, or if it's even possible to ensure that nobody's stealing that quote?
that's actually a huge problem that we're dealing with right now, and it's that people see these pictures of themselves online and they immediately they can just screenshot it and then save it for themselves and repost it, and they don't bother tagging us. So something that we have to consider is, I guess, putting a watermark on pictures, but in that case you don't want to compromise the actual quality of the photo. We haven't registered for actual copyright for any of our stuff, so it is a concern of ours. I think it's just keeping track of where these photos are going. I know that I've reached out to a lot of people and told them, you know, please tag our content, please ask before taking things. So I think it's just being on top of, I guess, who's taking your things, who's following you, where you see your stuff on the internet. Quotes, I always make sure to quote the poet who said things, because I know a lot of the times that we put quotes in our description parts of the photos on Instagram. So
just want people to put respect on it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say that it's kind of like it's hard because the platform of like Instagram itself is just like people see memes, people see like funny photos, and so just like naturally they see that, you know, oh hey, like, you know, nobody owns that, you know, let me just screenshot it. And so like I also blame kind of like, you know, the technology and like the almost like the need to like get yourself out there, because it's like, you know, as a freelance photographer, I can't, you know, make any money, or I can't like get any exposure without the internet, and I can't do that without, you know, by posting my work, you know, to a platform that everyone is on. And also, since it's owned by Facebook, there's like rules on there where it's like, no matter what, say if I post my photo on Instagram in general, I don't own that photo anymore. Instagram, oh yeah, I want everyone to know this, by the way. So on Instagram, if you were to post anything, like say like a photo or whatever, that photo is not yours anymore under the terms and agreements.
Really?
So the way it works is, say if Instagram wants to say, I don't know, take a photo that I took and I have Nike on in it, and they want to sell it to Nike for an ad to run on Instagram. So they can take your picture. They don't have to tell you about it. They don't even have to, you know, inform you like, oh, hey, you know, we're taking this picture, and they can sell it and they can make money off of it. And because they're like, hey, you know, we allowed you the space to do that, that's what they're allowed to do. And so I found that out listening to another podcast just, you know, 2 or 3 days ago. And, you know, it's the content is not even yours anymore, so it's kind of harder to even try and, you know, to register, say like a copyright, and trying to stop people from like taking your stuff, because essentially
Like 5 alarms went off right now.
No, it's a phone call. Do you remember the podcast?
Not at the moment. I could probably look it up though, but one thing that I do remember was that, you know, they did say like this sort of thing where people don't like tag you and whatnot. Like if you try to like go to, you know, Instagram or like complain about it, they would pretty much just tell you like, hey, like if you want to post it on here, you know, you need to copyright it before you even post it, or else like we can't really do anything about like them, you know, taking your property. And then they're going to be like, well, are they even displaying your content to a large amount of people? So it's like, if it's to 100 followers, they're like, you should just
Get over it.
yeah, get over it. And that's pretty much the false, like, well, no, not even the false, it's just like the harsh reality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you
it
do
sucks.
sign that agreement when you
Yeah.
first joined Instagram.
Yo, and it's like,
I'm guessing it's the same for Facebook too.
yeah, it's the only way to get
Snapchat.
clout, to be
Snapchat,
honest.
Facebook, Twitter, yeah.
It's hard being an artist on social media platforms, especially when I'm putting up people's actual live performances on there. It's kind of, you're using their content to build your audience
Yeah.
on Instagram, so it's kind of
Tricky.
catch-22.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I mean, I feel like that's also like in our terms and agreements too. Like if you were to post,
Yeah,
if
if
like
you come to
and
verbal, you're going to
perform,
be recorded,
it's
unless
almost
you don't
like-
want to be.
Yeah, because it's like people don't know. They're like, yo, you're signing your name up, but you know, you kind of give us those
Yeah.
rights. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
Considering that, do you think artists are able to like have some control over where their content is being posted? Like I see like Jasmine Mans' poem about Kanye West, like hers is reposted in like different channels. So considering that you both work on a media team, do you think not only just poets but like any other artist like has control over like where it's being posted, or can they, and if so, what are the ways in which they can?
I'll say that like it depends on like which art form we're talking about, because like say if we're talking about like motion graphics, like, you know, like all like the silly like motion graphics like you see on Instagram, it's just like a meme. Like those are like drawn and like created digitally by like actual artists, and like a lot of the times like their stuff spreads on meme pages and like they get no like recognition for it, and then like the meme page will do like crazy numbers, like 500,000 likes on that one photo, or no, even like the video or the GIF, and like they'll get like no recognition, no stain from it. And it's just like, it's kind of like the compromise, like as you can see, like a lot of, you know, artists won't even like pull up, you know, their heat on social media platforms, because it's like, yo, like I know someone's gonna steal it, and I know someone's gonna like, you know, take my idea and then like just call it theirs, and then it kind of goes back to the old days where like everyone was like racing to patent something. Because if once you get the patent, it's like it's over for you. Like you don't own anything. You can't prove that you invented it. And so like it's kind of like the similar thing today. Like who can trademark something? Who can copyright something? And then also like who has the knowledge to check the terms and agreements on like what the rules are between users on Instagram. So it's almost like you're taking a risk pretty much like as an artist today. And if you like, because the word of mouth doesn't work anymore. I mean, technically it does, but it's almost like the word of mouth doesn't go from word of mouth. It goes from like thumbs to thumbs, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Everything is everywhere, man.
100%. Like it's just hard. So like it's almost like you have to take that risk and just hope it like it works out. And pretty much in this day and age, that's why people say like you just can't be like an artist that just does one thing today. It's almost like you're gonna get ripped off, so it's almost like you need to inhabit another profession just so like you can get even. And I mean also, which is a good thing, there's more competition now because like everyone is getting the means to the education and the exposure to other artists, but at the same time it's like some people don't have the best intentions when they see artists' work.
Yeah, actually I have a friend who made some art. And he was, selling his art to it was another artist, a fellow artist, and all it was very like a community-based thing. But he gave him his art, and the artist he sold it to wasn't trying to give him credit. Essentially, he was, he was trying to pass it off like it wasn't his work, and I actually ran into this person, and I happened to confront them about it, and I was just like. They were like, oh yeah, this is mine, I drew this from scratch. And I was like, really? Because I actually know the artist personally, so, and they looked stuck. They were just like, I found the image and I edited it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Because people right out here sometimes, they're grimy.
Yeah.
And they'll steal your ideas, they'll steal your art, and it's just like, you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
It's just in the time it takes to apply for a copyright and go through the entire application process, they've already taken a screenshot of your work.
Mm-hmm.
And the price, I was just about to say, like, the price of doing that, like, so I wanted to, like, over the summer, I was like, all right, like, I'm serious about this. Like, I'm putting, like, all right, so I've dropped $2,500 on the camera just this past summer, right? Like, I spent a year and a half of my life saving money up for that camera, right? And so, like, I was just like, yo, like, if I'm going to be taking photos with this camera, I was like, I need to be taking, like, everything a lot more seriously. So, like, one thing was, I was like, let me see if I could, I don't know anything about trademarks, copyrights, or anything. I was like, let me go find out about this. Let me go see what, my work is worth and, like, what I could. A trademark, right? So get this, right? I went through a trademark service, and I just wanted to inquire about, like, hey, what does it take? And, like, what services do you offer? So basically what they do is, say if I wanted to trademark my artist name, 126, right? It would, first of all, they would have to look in a database, and then it would be more specific. Like, they're like, okay, are you a photography service, or are you an artist? You know what I mean? Like, are you selling your work, and are you, like, more so a service where you do, like, headshots just for, like, in a studio? And it gets very specific, and then, it's very like, hefty prices. You have to be, like, ready to drop, like, $800 just so you could pay, like, a legal team to search the database for you. And it's so extensive, and it takes months. And then at the end of the day, that's just for an attempt. Imagine dropping $800 for an attempt. That's not even like the whole, like, oh, like, we got you, like, that's your name. Like, no, we have to find someone who may have trademarked it before you, and then, like, if it's taken, like, your ass out. And then, so, like, one thing that, she was really nice about helping me out. She was like, hey, like, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. You, like, if you go to trademark something, like, have a second option, ready. Like, unless, and she was like, especially because, like, my name is comprised of, like, numbers, but I, like, if you read it on paper, it's, like, spelled out. You know what I mean? But she said that doesn't matter. She said that, like, you can spell Coke 7 ways, but Coke is still going to own the trademark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the copyright is a little bit more of, like, an annoying process, because there's all this paperwork, and then there's all this, like, specific, things you even have to know about the work you're producing. So you might work hours on something. You might not even know, like, the information you have to put on the paperwork. So I guess, to digress, I will say that, like, to make your stuff yours, like, you have to be ready. Like, you have to know, like, am I gonna just put this on Instagram, you know, for the flex, or am I gonna put this out and am I gonna monetize this art that I spent hours on? So yeah, it's definitely one of those things I feel like artists have to think about if they want to protect their work, and then if they want to monetize it, and if they want to hold themselves up in court.
Right. I think before you go into like monetizing your work and kind of looking into the trademark or the copyright, you want to kind of build the clout, right? So can you guys tell me a little bit of how do you navigate what's the right platform for you, both with like radio and with photography, or generally with art, or even as a person individually?
And social media as well. Like,
Instagram and Facebook are like hand in hand, like the ones that you need to be on.
But Instagram's popping right now.
Instagram is everything, and
Well, that's because it's taking Snapchat's place too with
Yeah.
the stories that you can do.
So-
No one's
wow.
watching the Snapchat stories anymore. They're all watching the Instagram stories.
You just brought up an excellent point. So everyone that has a Snapchat account, just be ready for Snapchat to die in the next few years, because Snapchat didn't really, you know, do a good job of like trying to like consistently like change the way that, you know, their users use their platform. They're being taken over. You can make Facebook stories now, which I don't understand why. You
No
can
one
make
does.
Instagram stories. Like when you put stories in front of a larger, you know, amount of people, everyone at first was saying, "Oh nah, you know, add me on Snap," but everyone is making
Everybody's
Insta stories
on the
now.
way.
Yeah.
Like there's no point because you have way much, like each user has way much more clout on Instagram.
Yeah.
So to get back to my original point, I will say that if you're an artist of any sort, you want to get on Instagram, you want to get on Facebook, and the reasons why is because you could probably make your Instagram a business page through a Facebook page, and then you could like see your analytics and everything. And I will say that, you know, Twitter, like if you have clout on Twitter, by all means use it, but it's not really essential today unless like you're getting like all like types of clout. If you have hella followers, hella engagement, like you need to just be on that at all times. Like, and some people think that, oh, because Snapchat is popular, oh, you know, I need to be on that. No, like you're gonna waste your time, you're gonna waste your money, you're gonna waste all your ad money, you're gonna waste all your efforts trying to like push stuff on there. Like Instagram is the way to go, and there's so many tools on Instagram for you to advertise yourself. Like now, as you can see, like people are clicking on stuff that's like outrageous. So everything is getting more and more competitive. So if your post is not outrageous or interactive, they're just gonna keep scrolling. Like it needs to catch them visually within those 2 seconds.
can artists like make their own pages stand out, especially on Instagram?
All right. If you're an old artist, you probably should just be trying to stay alive. But
That was so rude.
well, like I didn't.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like, what do you mean?
Time is up, big fella.
I didn't mean as in like, you know, like
You're not
literally
about to
like
die.
dying, but like I meant like, you know, on their online presence, because like, all right, so think about it, like before the internet, when they were, you know, thriving and alive and like writing and such, it was the word of mouth. It was, hey, come out to my event, and like there wasn't any emails or texts or anything. You know, it was like literally calling, yo, hey, pull up. You can't just be, say, a poet anymore. You need to be a poet, and you need to be something else that accompanies your poetry.
A poet, a juggler.
Yes,
a
like,
tricyclist.
but actually though, because now people like to the younger age, you're only gonna hit a niche market. You know what I mean? Like with, well, I won't even say a younger age, people our age. So, you know, we're like in our 20s, like, you know, maybe 19, 18. But people like us, like we have to like look at ourselves and see what we do. I know myself, like if I see text like on a post, I'm scrolling up immediately because it's just the mental exhaustion that I have with like thinking about like, okay, for one, that text is kind of small, and for two, like I don't want to have to read you know, it's Instagram, I want to look at pictures.
Unless you're on Facebook for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
And-
gonna say we have extremely short attention spans, which
Yes.
is why you've got 10 seconds on Snapchat to look
Yep.
at things. You've got 1 minute on Instagram. So if you're gonna use that 1 minute, you have to use it doing something exciting
Yes.
or catching people's attention. I know that some of our most popular things on the Verbal Mayhem Instagram are these short.
Simple.
I would take the Snapchat stories, and it would just be 10 seconds each of each person, and then I would upload those to Instagram, and it's just people like to go quickly through each performer. They don't want to stick with one. So you just need to be able to, I guess,
Capture
Yeah.
people's
Yeah.
attention along with it.
But like I will say that like one thing that I saw from like a motivational Denzel Washington video like 2 days ago, and so like, he was speaking at this college, and I forget which college it was, but basically he said, which stuck with me ever since. He said, don't confuse motion for progress. So like for one, that can hit social media 100%, and the reason why I say that is because people think, oh, if I just push hella content out, then like people are just gonna like reach out to me. No, like your content has to have the purpose.
Right.
Even if it seems random to the person, like it needs to have a method to you. So it's almost like you need something to make yours look different, because there might be some person with fire poetry in North Dakota, and they might be trying to, you know, get their stuff out, but essentially like if you don't have a way to, and say if like your poetry maybe is like, you know, better or worse than theirs, if you have a more efficient way of like making it visually pleasing, you will definitely get that user over that person in North Dakota writing fire poetry, you know, in their barn all day.
Right.
But no, yeah. So it's definitely just trying to be different, and I don't mean be different as in like, you know, do a stunt or anything. Well, actually, no, I do mean that. Like you literally today's age, like you need to just do something out of the box, like something that people haven't seen before. Like it needs to be interactive. It needs to get someone to participate in what you're doing. And if you can't do that, you're not going to get that engagement. You're not going to get that person to want to buy stuff from you. You're not going to get them to want to like see you on tour. You need to. It's a shame to say this, but you need a gimmick.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about people in radio broadcasting when you don't have the imagery, right? It's kind of just like all voice and like, unless you're doing like something live online. How do you find out your best platform, and how do you get people engaged to keep coming to your broadcast?
That's difficult for radio because when you're live, you can't really see who's listening. But and there are so many platforms now. It's hard because radio, there used to be the golden age of radio, which was the 1920s to the 1970s. And then after that, it was everyone had a television set. That's where they were getting their news. That's where they were hearing everything. And now radio has kind of been dying out since then, especially with the growth of streaming online. Everyone's got a Spotify or a Pandora account because you can listen to what you want when you want. And so radio, you're not getting as much, I guess, choice, but you're getting more variety, but you're not getting as much choice in it. So you're not really, I don't know, you have more specific audiences that you're reaching that I just lost where I was going.
And it's more targeted towards like one region, place, right?
Like for example, 90.3, we're specifically in New Brunswick, in the Piscataway area, so they're much smaller audiences. But I just lost the question.
How do you find out, like, how do you navigate what platform is best for you in radio?
Or like to stay relevant. So for instance, like Breakfast Club, like they have YouTube videos, they have like their Instagram, and that's kind of helped them still stay relevant and like still be like a radio show. So I guess like how.
Now I remember where I was going. So after radio started dying out with the rise of TV, then we introduced there was FM and there was AM, and those are kind of dying out too. So we've gone to an online platform because one of the biggest growing things in terms of radio is listening to streams on a desktop. So the radio station has an online feature where you can listen to live radio all day, 24/7.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the biggest platforms that we have that's most valuable to us, and it kind of gives the user more of an ability to take the radio with you, because you can listen, you don't have to be in the Piscataway area to listen to it. You can listen to the website anywhere you go. So it's just, you don't get as many insights as you would on Instagram or Twitter. It's not as immediate.
Now, being a Rutgers student, and I understand 90.3, the core is, it's a Rutgers ran radio station. How does being a student and on campus affect your listeners or getting the word out about the core?
I have to say, I think most of my listeners are probably my family and my parents.
Just like Aunt Mabel.
Hello.
And I actually have an Aunt Mabel. In Florida. No, I have an Aunt Mabel.
Oh my God.
But I know, cute.
Shout out to Aunt Mabel if you're listening to this.
Doesn't speak English, but still good.
We'll get a translation.
Yeah. So there's someone out in Ohio listening, but it's kind of hard. You have to promote yourself on Facebook. You have to tell all your friends.
Yeah.
sometimes you get frequent listeners who are just tuning in and they'll call and talk to you and they'll be like, I listened to this station on my drive home. So it's kind of hard as a student to really promote yourself and to get a huge following, but you do have those couple people that come back and it's fun.
That's all that matters. People who come back, you know?
Yeah. What do you guys think is the most successful aspect of like having a social media account or platform, or building that production behind it, like in terms of like aesthetic, hashtags, filters, geofilters, etc.?
Ooh, so you're asking like what is like the most successful like aspect to like get popping basically?
Like for instance, like do you need that big paragraph of hashtags or no?
I think
Like
people like the filters.
Oh my God, yes. So
We're going to be going into Marcus's entire Instagram account now. This is the entire thing.
This is gonna sound totally crazy, but there's this book at Urban Outfitters, and
that's not where I expected this to go.
But it's like no shame at all. Like I have no shame. It's called How to Get Instagram Famous, right? So like obviously like you think, okay, you know, it's for those basic people like that are in, you know, urban, trying to look fly, trying to get clout by wearing like, you
for
know,
the aesthetic.
for the aesthetic. And but like they explain in the book, because I actually read further than like 2 pages, unlike probably like everyone else that looks at that book. Everything down to your filters, your unity with your posts, and like your captions and like what you actually take photos of, like all of that matters. And if you have something like say if you're a person, right, and you have great hair, you can really just flex your hair on Instagram all day and literally have an account. Yes, literally have an account just about your hair. Like it doesn't have to have your face. It could just be like on your story, you're doing something in your hair and you have some type of fancy hippie way of cleaning it and conditioning it and, you know, and combing it, and you have like this special tool. Honestly, like people really eat that stuff up. That's what gets people to buy things. That's what gets people out to the stores and like buying like, hey, where can I find this, you know, super niche
face wash?
And it's like $45
That was a sub. I am offended because I am that person. Low
The
key.
expensive face.
Not
You
expensive.
can start a
but,
whole
like,
face wash Instagram.
Yeah, honestly.
And you know what?
Embrace
If
it.
it has light colors and it has like a unifying filter, and it has like decent pictures, you can make an Instagram just about that face wash, or just about an Instagram appreciating face washes that are, because now everyone is obsessed with like glowing, right?
Right.
Everyone's obsessed with having, you know, fire highlights. Everyone like it's all about like what makes you look good, essentially. So like if you need that one filter that makes your every picture pop, like it all needs to unify on your profile. Like all right, so on my page I'll have say a block of, well, like a paragraph literally of hashtags that would get my photos out to like a whole gang of people, and I usually keep it or I'll delete it. But like necessarily, like people can say what they want about it, it gets me more likes and more comments.
It's good marketing. I really
Like
think.
people actually have like DM me saying like, yo, like let's shoot, like I saw you on the hashtag, like, yo, I really like your work, yo. So like I feel like the only people that will have a problem with that are just like people that like don't have clout, you feel me? Like,
Yeah.
so essentially I feel that there are very certain things on Instagram, especially interacting with people, you need to like talk to the people that are liking your stuff. If you're not, like, you need to give people something to like interact with. Like you need to be like yourself on your story all the time. Like that's
How often
so
should you
crucial.
be interacting with your followers?
all the time.
Whenever
Like,
someone comments,
you need to
either
like
like
talk
it
to
or
them.
comment back.
Like every single time, like, yo, because people get so geeked like when celebrities just like their comment.
Yeah.
Like if all right, like Drake takes a selfie, right, and like a super fan of his like just post it like, oh my gosh, Drake, I love you, da da da. If they see Champagne Poppy pops up on their feed and it's he likes your comment, like they're geeked for the rest of their lives, and it just reaffirms like their love for Drake.
Yeah.
And so like say like anyone, like if you do that, you don't even have to like talk to them. You just like their post. Yo, it's like, yo, they noticed me today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try again because they're gonna notice me again, and it has to have value though.
Yeah.
Like you have to like only show love to the people that are like showing love. because then they see, oh, other people are showing love. I'm gonna show love, and I want them to notice me because. But then again, also you have to have fire content. I want that to be known. You can't you can't just have like some
like everybody thinks.
facts. You can't just have like just some like ass content like on your page and like expect like everyone to just like geek over it. Now, like it takes time and like effort and patience.
We were actually talking about this with Verbal's president Gabby the other day, and the fact that she has a certain she always puts a pink tint to all of her pictures, and then she'll post a specific, like a selfie on a specific day, because that's what her followers know her for, and that's kind of what she's curating her content to be and what her theme to be is. And something that I didn't realize matters as much as it actually does is the number of followers that you have. You can actually buy fake followers, and people are more likely to follow you if you have more followers, or they're more likely to like your posts if it has more likes on it, because no one wants to be that first like.
All right, so like if you're buying followers, I will say that like people notice, people like can tell. Like, all right, so say if I have 11K but I'm not breaking 300 likes, that doesn't match at all. Like it's so obvious. Like, all right, you can see people like have like Drake has, I'm pretty sure has like millions of followers, right? But
he gets that in likes though.
He gets millions of likes. His worst picture will get 500,000 likes. Like it could be literally like a picture of his toilet bowl, and it'll be like it'll be 500,000, and people will be in the comments saying, "Oh my gosh, I want to like wash my skin with his toilet water." And like, like literally every like people will be so geeked, but like you can see like when people have like fake likes, because like you can see it gradually happen like with people that actually have clout, but like you can see people like will one day have like 700 followers, and the next day they have like 5,000 followers, and you can even tell like people do those whack ass like follow for follows. Like they I have like 15,000 followers, but bro, you follow like 17K. Like you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense.
So can you guys tell us anything about sponsors? Like, do you think that helps with both followers, getting paid? Do you think it matters not only being sponsored by a company, but possibly having your own logo sponsored by somebody?
So like, are you asking like if you have a sponsored post, like if you sponsor your own posts, or if like if you have say like a sponsor like Nike like co-sign?
Both.
As an artist, I think you do at times have to consider having sponsored content. I know that a lot of YouTubers will put commercials or ads in between their videos, like it'll stop halfway and then you'll see an ad, because like we were talking about earlier, it's so easy for people to take your content and you don't get any credit for it. Why not make money in one of the only few ways you can?
How do you get the ads in between?
They reach out to you. Like you have to have some content that's like, again, like fire. If you have content that's fire and like you've built up, say an audience, people are watching, so there's YouTube like medals that they'll mail you like at the end of like a certain quarter. They're like, hey, like you hit 100,000 subscribers, and with that the companies will actually take the time to put ads on your videos. Or the way for ads to be on their videos, or is if you take someone's copyrighted content on YouTube, and say like if I use like a Lil Uzi song, they might, if they don't take my video down, they'll let me use it, but they'll put ads and he'll get money for it. You know what I'm saying? So that's that way. Like that's how you would get it. People have to approach you. And I was watching this video on YouTube, actually, it's funny. He said it was actually like, okay, how to get money for like your content, and like how to get sponsored posts. And he's basically like, yo, if you like something, if you really like something, he said it's not selling out if something you really like say if I like s'mores Pop-Tarts, right, and in my videos or in my photos I'm always eating a s'mores Pop-Tart, and I tag s'mores Pop-Tarts, like, yo, like I really love like it wouldn't be surprising or it wouldn't be fake, and it wouldn't be selling out if I'm an artist and like Pop-Tarts sponsors me with s'mores Pop-Tarts, because I'm bringing them an audience. People like s'mores Pop-Tarts because of me, and I'm like, so that's usually how they would associate themselves with you. I would say like for the companies that like are like Nike or Apple, it's a lot more harder. It's a lot harder for them to try and like co-sign you, because they're so big and they don't co-sign anyone without like six-figure deals, you know what I mean? With sponsor, like if you're sponsoring say your own posts, I would say that's very helpful, because like Facebook and Instagram, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So if you become a business account on Instagram, right, this is kind of like the downfall. As a regular account, your photo is placed in a random position on the timeline now. So it's not in like chronological order, it's just in a random order now. And so what happens is like it's put in a spot where people can see it and people can like it as like a regular account. But once you're a business account, Instagram drops it all the way to the bottom because like they're giving you free features.
Oh,
Good.
there's
And-
actually, you have the ability to boost your posts
Yeah.
too, but you have to pay Instagram.
You have to pay money. So it'll be like, so like they'll show you one of your posts doing numbers, right? So say if you have like 950 likes on it, right? They're like, yo, like this post, well on Instagram specifically, they'll be like, yo, this post is doing 95% better than all your other posts. Sponsor it now for $3 and we can get you to see, say, 17,000 more people than you would have bought on your own, right?
You can increase your reach too.
Yeah. So essentially it is helpful, but like Instagram just kind of like capitalized the, well,
It's the same for Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, who do you feel like is benefiting more?
Well, like Instagram or Facebook or
Because
like
they do
No.
give
the
you
artist.
those,
The artist or the
artist
company.
compared to company, because they do give you those analytics that say, oh, you're gonna get this many views, but like, there's really no guarantee because like you really don't.
It
know
does
for
kind of
sure.
sound like they're using the artists for their own money. It kind of sounds like they're stealing your work too to
In a
get money
sense.
from you, but
Yeah, so I will say that like it really depends on like what end of this, because like, all right, say if you actually have like something that's useful and people are like, yo, that's popping, like I want to go buy that, or like, oh, I want to go view that. Essentially like you might be working it out a little bit better, but like essentially like they're always going to come out in the positive. Like they have no losses, because say if you have like, say if Drake tried to do a sponsor post, which I wouldn't understand why, but like his sponsor post would probably cost like mad money. Like they'd probably have to contact him specifically, because they'd be like, yo, like this is gonna cost this is how much it's gonna cost for you to get your new album release to be advertised to, say, I don't know, 100 million people on, like, so basically half the population on Instagram is gonna see his.
Yeah.
And which it doesn't sound a lot, but it's like that's literally like most of the world seeing that album release, and so that's how people make money. So they kind of come out regardless. Like, so if you don't have clout, they'll be like, oh, it's $3, we'll get you to 1,000 people, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's, and they're like, okay, those 1,000 people, like, you know, it's not guaranteed that.
It's kind of a
Yeah,
gamble.
they're
It's really-
gonna like your stuff. So it's really a gamble. Like no matter what, like the artist is gonna have to take a risk and just like invest in his or her business.
It's like there's a timing to it. Like most importantly, beyond anything, it's just your clout. Like,
Yo,
you can boost
100%.
your post for $50 for 3 months. and get
100%.
2 likes, and then it's
Yo,
just like, damn.
for real. And it kind of goes back to like you need fire content. So
Yes,
like
content.
you won't be worried if your content is fire. Like if your content is fire, like, and you know it is, and you're continuously like pushing your boundaries every single time and doing something different and coming up with creative ideas, which is easier said than done. Like you have nothing to worry about. But if you're like insecure about your content, you're insecure about like what it's gonna do, then you should probably go back to the drawing board and then think about,
Better content.
you know, hey, I need to do something different for people to notice me and for my money to be worth it.
Thanks for listening. We're going to move on to the second part of our show. If you like what you heard so far, if you're just tuning in, this is Shortline Review. You can listen to this podcast and more on shortlinereview.com.
So we know you're a photographer, but you've also done music video work. You're also currently doing film work. How did you get into that? And also how were you able to expand into these other mediums, if that makes sense?
It kind of like happened like in high school. Like I was placed into like a video class, and like it kind of just like went like up from there. Like everything, like I just didn't feel like it was work at high school, like because everything like social studies, like granted like history is important, but like it's boring. Like it's not interactive. It doesn't draw my attention to anything. It's like it's easy. Like okay, I can memorize it, but I'm not gonna care 2 days after the test. And so like through that, I just kind of like went through all of high school, like really enjoying it, and then like I got an internship my senior year with a wedding film company, and then like I went, you know, got in here, and I really appreciated that colleges were taking the initiative to like not view your SAT scores. I'm smart. Like I could understand the concepts that they're taking in class, but like my SAT scores were trash. Like I'm not a standardized test taker. Like I'm an artist. At the end of the day, like I could probably come up with a better business model than I could how to do, say, algebra. You know what I mean? But I got here, and I wanted to talk to more people, like, and I wanted to really like get out of like my shy kind of closed in bag. So like it helped me, and like I helped myself by like doing videos, say, just in class. And I transferred from film like into journalism because I wanted to do like more television, and I wanted to do like series instead of like just one film.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like film kind of has like, it doesn't have that life that it should have. It's like it's hot when it's in the theaters, and then like when it's on demand, it's like, oh, whatever. Yeah. But people watch Netflix. People are like OD on it. So that's what I wanted to do. And I will say that I low-key forgot where I was going.
That's okay. So how about you've worked with a lot of known artists, right?
Okay.
So you've worked
Cody
with,
Shane.
yeah.
Ugly God. Well, we've taken photos, but yeah.
Yeah, so like how did you get those opportunities, and like how do you allocate resources for information to get these opportunities like this?
Ooh, all right. So as a visual artist, like you just have to know like you don't have OD money for like artists in general. You don't have OD money to spend on like anything else like the regular person does, like because you're putting all your money into like
The camera.
your camera, like your brand. Like if I want to take 5 pictures, I'm gonna need for one, I need the skills, but then like once you get the skills, it's like, okay, I need the camera because like a certain quality is just like it's used, like. And so I got the opportunities just by like being interested in music. And so like, for example, when I shot Cody Shane, I actually knew an artist from home. Well, like I didn't like know him, but like I knew of him. And so I was like, oh word, he's gonna be in New York, and he's opening up for Cameron. I was like, oh, I'll just go. And so like I went, and like I finessed my way in, and like I just like started taking pictures of people. And like the thing on Instagram now is that you can like take pictures of someone, and like it might get you, say, like a spot on their tour, like. And if you have like fire content in them, like those artists, they need to be distributing content like that all the time, like on their social media platforms. So it's almost like if you go and shoot their photos for free, like chances are like they'll probably notice you on Instagram. Like the pictures that I posted of Cody Shane, like she went and she liked them, which is mad cool. And like the artist that I knew from home, he liked my pictures. He actually asked me, he was like, oh yeah, like send me those. And
They'll
so like
post them to their accounts too.
Yeah, and they'll post them, and like if they're cool, they'll tag you. I mean, a lot of times like they don't notice it, and like you just kind of like take the L, and then it's just like a post that's on your social media for a little bit, and people like it. But to everyone else, they kind of think, oh wow, like such and such is doing a lot of good things.
Yeah, that's your portfolio.
Like, and just by like the image of like you taking pictures of like famous people think that you're doing so much more than what you're actually doing. Like at that time when I was taking those photos, like I felt like my work was trash. I was like, yo, like I need to get better, dog. Like these people, like they're not gonna take me on tour. Like they're not gonna like this camera is not that good. Like my skills are not that good. Like if they ask me to do specific projects, like I wouldn't be able to do it. So like to get those opportunities, I would say like you just gonna have to like talk to people, like and I would definitely say like if you're a shy person, like being an artist may not be for you. But
even in the pictures when you take them, you really capture like that high energy, right? Do you have any tips for people that are possibly interested in doing something like this? Like how do you navigate that, I guess, eye in the camera?
I would definitely say just like, well, I guess this information is really strictly like for people that like love music, like, and if you love music enough to want to take pictures of people, that's what's gonna happen. So like you like doing research on an artist, like I didn't know her at the time, but I went home and I listened to her music, and I was like, yo, this is tight. Like I didn't know her at the time, but I was just like, wow, I just really want to take a good picture of her. Like she looks really, really nice here. And so just by like that intention, like I ended up taking a decent picture of her, and like it came out pretty okay. So like I would say like for those people that want to like have like have an interest in that field of like being like say a concert photographer or such, they need to have an interest, or else like they're gonna just produce like not so good photos. If you're not interested in it, we can see in your photos. But like, and if it's genuine, like if you genuinely say like love Cody Shane's music, or you love say Cameron's music, like you need to be OD interested into that person. Or sometimes you just need to be paid. Like that's what it comes down to.
That's a good motivator.
Like if you're not paid, you need to be crazy interested into that person, or else like you're never gonna catch that. Because like think about it. If I knew Cody Shane prior to that show, I would have been able to know like how she dances, how she moves, like her mannerisms, and so. By knowing that information, like you can take such a personally good photo that she's more likely to be like, hey, can you send me that photo? And if you do it enough times, she'll be like, hey, like,
I want you on my team.
Yeah, maybe like you should go on tour with me. Like, I mean, like obviously, like it's rare that happens, but it's happening to more people that are like younger and younger. So like the photographers are like 45 years old, are like getting like no clout because there's people that are 16 that are like OD interested with like a camera, and like they get out and they shoot someone just because they love that person that much, and then they just produce that fire content. You know what I mean? And so I would say it's just interest. Like you need to be interested in it. Like you need to have a love for it, just not the clout, because now it's coming out to like, oh, if you have pictures of famous people on your Instagram, like you get clout, and like that's annoying. But because there's some people that really love music and they really love the concert environment. You know what I mean?
Have you ever taken any of those shots that you just felt like, wow?
Yo.
Like, what is your favorite photo you've ever taken?
My favorite photo I've ever taken. Oh my god, that is crazy. That is a crazy question. I mean, like, I'd probably have to look at my Instagram, but it's probably
off the top of your head.
Like off the top of my head, like it would probably be like maybe some portraits I've taken recently. Because I mean, as of now, like I'll just ask my friends to go shoot, and like we'll go shoot something, and then like I'll try something different on a photo. I'll be like, oh, that's fire. So it'll probably be one of those recent shoots I've done. But like I look back then and I'm like, wow, like I don't know, that wasn't that good. So I like as an artist, I feel like my favorite photo changes like with each new thing I do, because each new thing I do, I'm like, yo, like this is heat, like this is hot, like this is that shit right here. But I feel like before I look, I was like, damn, like that was weak, like, and it's almost like you kind of have to do that, like not like put yourself down or like gas yourself up like OD all the time, but it's almost like you need to be your best fan and you need to be your best critic to have a favorite photo. And so my favorite photo changes pretty often.
I feel like that's a common theme in all art. Like writing poetry, making a song. Like you do something and you're like, wow, this is really dope. And then like a year later, you're like, wow, no.
100%.
Hated this. They snap for this.
I was just gonna say that some of the best photos that I've noticed from Marques are things that he took at Verbal where people weren't even performing poetry. It was more in the audience where he had people dancing, and he could get the energy of the people in the room.
Moments.
And it's kind of you're able to feel it when you're not there. I think that's one of the best photos.
Elicit that emotion.
A coworker of mine recently described my work, and she was like, she's like, I feel like your photos are like taken from like, she's like, I feel like something dramatic just happened. And like literally like I was like, wow. And like in that photo that Hannah's showing, it's a picture of Michael when he got the sus bus tie. That was crazy. I was like, wow, like he's literally been waiting all this time to be like accepted in the sus bus, and like
build up.
He's like an honorary member like through this tie that he like OD loves. So like that was really, really tight.
But then even, I guess this would be the last couple of questions, or the last question before we move on to Hannah. So when you look at all these pictures, right, you're not like deleting every single one you think is trash. You're kind of keeping it there for memories, for the aesthetic, to go back and see how you've grown as a person. So your Instagram is kind of like your portfolio, right? So can you explain to the audience what a portfolio is, what you use it for, how do you build it?
And also considering like the fact that we've just talked about how like when you do upload things on Instagram, it's automatically like not yours. How do you maintain that portfolio, especially like if you're applying for like other positions, like when you talked about your internship, for instance?
So I will say that like having a portfolio is OD important, because like you just don't want to be like one of those photographers that just like only has work on Instagram, because then you're just a hype artist, like if that makes sense. Like you're literally just an artist like for the clout. Like people like try to monetize that just for the clout, and it's like so annoying because like everyone has a camera they think they can shoot, so like it's whatever. But
what is a portfolio?
A portfolio is literally just like it's a group of your work, like of your absolute best work. And like even so, like you could put like your earlier stuff on there to like show, to like you said, like how you've grown, but like necessarily you want to put like the best stuff to catch someone's eye. So it's literally like you have all your heat, like even if it's like past heat or current heat, like it needs to be your best heat and then like the top like 5 pictures. And I would say the best way to do that is like not via Instagram. Like you want to put some heat on Instagram, but you want to have your website in your bio. Everything is like business cards and websites. Like you need to have a fire website, and it needs to be convenient. Like in today's age, if you want to do something right, this is a quote from, well, paraphrase quote from Gary Vee. If you want to have a successful business, you need to make something convenient, and then you'll make a lot of dollars, right? So like if I want people to come to my page and look at my website to look at all the heat I have, I don't want to put my website link in the caption where they can't copy and paste it. You know what I mean? Because chances are you're not gonna take the time to type in my link. Like you're just gonna maybe at the most double tap my picture and keep it pushing. So it's almost like you need to have like all your heat on a website. Like that's just the best way, and you need to have a unique way of presenting that information to everyone. So say like you really like taking portraits. If you want people that like want portrait work from you, you need to for one have that heat. So it's that gateway heat on Instagram, and then like it's like that information like you tell people like, oh hey, go check my bio, go check my link, and then they click that link, and it's OD easy to see all your portraits. So I would say it's like convenience and then the heat, the organization of your heat.
Bouncing off of what Gina said, how do you, so when you have your website, right, and you're possibly like interchanging pictures in between Instagram and the website, how do you maintain your copyright? Because once it's on Instagram, it's not yours technically anymore,
So I will say that like I pick and choose what photos that like I think are like kind of like, okay, I'll give this to Instagram.
Okay.
And then the absolute heat is what's on my my website, I'm sorry, and that's like copyrighted, that's mine, like and so like currently like right now I'm doing my website, and like I want to go through the process of copywriting everything on there so people can't like take the raw image and like steal it. So even now, like to take a photo off my website, you would have to like do a screenshot on your computer, which essentially is easy, but it's like you can trace it back to my website. And like it's the copyright is at the bottom. Like you can see it's copyrighted. So I would definitely say like if you have all that documentation, like it's a lot harder for someone to want to take your work, because for one, they can't right click it and save it. They can't. The only way they can really take it is they have to go through OD steps. So it's almost like you have to make it inconvenient for someone to steal it via copyright, and to do small things like they can't even click on it, they could just view it. You know what I mean? They could just like see it on their screen, and that's it.
Okay, so Hannah, like you work at a radio station, you work as a radio host and a DJ. How did you get into that?
So it actually goes back all the way to my childhood. When I was really young, I was always writing, and I was always listening to music. And actually, one of my uncles on my dad's side, he was a radio host, and he actually attended Rutgers also. And he had he's one of those like big bellied men, and he has this very deep bass voice and he sounded like he should be announcing songs at the top of every hour. And it kind of motivated me and gave me this idea that I could be playing my music, I could be, I guess, reaching all these people, and I could be hosting my own show by the time that I was in college. So I kind of had that dream always.
That's beautiful.
And I sought it out at the involvement fair when I was a freshman, and I found this tent that was full of these alternative looking kind of upbeat people. And I thought,
you know when you have
I know.
Like if they look a certain way, it's like, okay.
Whenever you see a ginger and everyone's kind of dancing at the tent, you know it's going to be fun. So that's the reason I joined, because it looked fun and it looked laid back, and it was a good image. And it was less uptight than I thought it was going to be, because I know that there's some radio stations that are more strict. But
you're carrying the torch then, huh?
Yeah, I've been told.
That's great.
And he still actually is involved with radio programming and writing health manuals on the side. So
how is that?
That's fun.
Not father. You said uncle.
Uncle.
Niece relationship. Also, as to a mentor. Like, is there a mentor aspect to it as well? You feel like?
I think so. It definitely gave us something to talk about that was fun to relate with. And it was always interesting to me to see how radio has changed so much from when he was back in Rutgers in the 70s or 80s, whenever he was there.
How has it changed?
It's bigger. It's definitely bigger. I think that 90.3 The Core actually it's one of the biggest organizations on campus aside from Verbal Mayhem. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting to see how, like we were talking about earlier, how the audience has changed, how the range has changed, how many people we're reaching, kind of what content people are wanting to listen to. I know that we've started doing a lot of actual programming, like news. Like people want to hear what's going on out in New Brunswick area. So now we have a news team that goes around and makes programs about that. So yeah, it's really cool.
You mentioned your uncle's voice. Now, obviously, it's a radio podcast.
Yeah.
The voice is the most important thing. So, how do you navigate that? You know, just because there's so many people who hate hearing themselves speak, or like, I hate the sound of my own voice. So, how do you navigate that, having to hear yourself on the radio all the time? And, like, I don't know, is there a level of comfortability you have to get to?
I think that listening to yourself on the radio, you have to get over yourself very quickly. I think it's an actual scientific thing that you don't actually know what your real voice sounds like because it's the vibrations in your head or something, and your voice sounds a lot different when you actually hear it on recording. But yeah, you have to get over yourself. You have to realize that what you have to say is more important than how you sound.
That's really nice.
And for a long time, I didn't think I had a voice for it because it's kind of pitchy and just it's not that solid, deep voice that you hear on Sirius XM radio.
It's a very
it's like the talk shows.
It's very soothing though. I feel like you guys listen to 103.1. Anybody? 103.1?
No.
Shout out to 103.1.
We all know what that is.
But
I was going to say, I don't.
No, we don't.
But
I'm from South Jersey. I don't know.
There's a woman who hosts it, and she sounds very similar to you guys. So.
Well, I actually had Steve on a show once.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That was lit, yo. That was like freshman year.
Yeah. No, that was like
sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Facts.
But yeah, it takes a toll on your confidence and kind of just like I've said 1,000 times, you have to get over it and get onto the talking. I actually avoided having to do any mic breaks the first year that I was on the radio just because I was so nervous about it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have I don't know if I'm going to have enough to say. I don't know if I'm going to have to say anything that's important about the songs. But I use that as a learning experience, and every time that you have too much white noise on the radio, you take that and you think, okay, next time, what are some points that I can make about the music? What are events coming up that I can talk about? So it's all a learning experience, and you just grow every time that you're on there.
What about dealing with mistakes? Like, I know, like, with photography with Marques, he can just, like, retake a picture, right?
Live radio, you can't really.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that?
Well, there is a short delay where you can press a dump button and it gets rid of the last couple seconds that we're playing.
Really?
But you're not allowed to use that much because it has to build up over time. But I feel like I just said that again, but you just have to learn from every time that you're on live radio, because it's kind of like you're interviewing each time that you're going on there, and you're the person being interviewed, not you interviewing someone else. So you just have to take it as a learning experience and just take your mistakes from last time, make sure they don't happen again. I mean, or you'll get confronted by the guy who runs the radio station, but it makes for better content.
Pretty sure I cursed on the time I went.
Yeah, I dumped that.
I dumped that.
Quality dumpage right there.
So since we're kind of talking about interviews, and also you mentioned earlier about how radio has expanded and changed with like different audiences, how have you chosen your content, as in like the type of music you put in, what type of interviews, how do you pick those, and like how has that affected the type of audiences that do listen to you?
One of the biggest things about joining the radio is that it has expanded my music taste and what I'll be willing to listen to so much. when I first joined, I was playing that stereotypical indie rock when I came on, and it's just like I was like, I'm gonna play everything on. You know what? I was playing. Verbal Mayhem actually introduced me into a lot of music too. But, I was just playing that, and I was like, I'm gonna play everything that's on my Spotify playlist. I'm not gonna worry about anything else. I'll play what I want to hear. But through the rules and just having to play, because a part of the being on the radio is that the fact that we're a free radio station, we also have to play playlist songs, which are songs that are given to us by promoters. So we have to play at least 6 songs per hour that are songs off of the albums given to us by promoters. So just through doing that alone, I've listened to a lot of new artists. I've kind of we can get into that later. I don't have any at the top of my head because they're really obscure. It's more of the indie stuff.
You just start with indie stuff, you just end up with like Kodak Black.
Yeah. But how does someone get their, I guess, song or whatever they want to put on the radio? Yeah, how does that work?
Well, the station itself we're funded by promoters, so it's just they send us their stuff, and it's just we pick and choose which songs we want to play.
So the artist, you're gonna contact with a promoter. Okay.
That's usually. But in terms of the people that I've had live, it's either they've reached out to me or I've reached out to them. Recently, I had someone on my show who is a friend of a friend that we met at a party, and he actually has a band called Leeds, and he came into the studio and he did a live studio performance for me. And he had his guitar, his acoustic guitar, and then he had a photographer in the corner. And it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting not only to get to hear him live and him to talk about his tour, but it was cool to be able to promote local artists like that.
Yeah.
And give them this platform to talk about themselves. It was a lot of fun.
What about in terms of I don't think you guys have a lot here in New Brunswick, but I know like the New York stations on radio, there's a lot of competition of like who's listening to what station. How do you get?
We somewhat have that.
You just like
I know,
Jersey.
Yeah. I know. Well, I know that there's WRSU also on campus, which I think some of us have been to before.
And Nadia.
But yeah.
I mean, I didn't go there. I just kind of like walked in.
I thought Nadia was on 90.3.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Facts. But I did go on WRSU.
Yeah.
That's Brian Miranda.
Yeah.
Brian Miranda.
We don't have that much competition, but what was the question?
Is it like a low-key rivalry, or is it like how do you guys go around?
Low-key. We pride ourselves on being the one that you're more free to do what you want and talk about what you want, and I think the other one's more considered like the Rutgers programming, like they do what the school wants. So.
She's starting shade.
You better or no.
When you do have like artists reached out to you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you? Like, what's the best way to approach? As in, like, do you get some like ridiculous people that are like, you should put me on your radio show, not showing any type of content, and then getting mad?
No, I definitely listen to their stuff first. But usually in person is the best way to ask, I think, or I guess if they want to reach out on Facebook. But I think it's always good to go into it not assuming that you're automatically going to get on to the show, because a lot of people do with college radio. They think automatically that they're just going to be allowed on.
Yeah.
They actually have to kind of prove that.
Need that heat.
Yeah.
They get the I regret to inform you this is trash letter.
Yeah.
In terms of like background, like in terms of production, when you guys get like a call in, right, for a phone call, is it live at that moment, or do you have the call in and record it?
No, see the phone calls they're separate. You can't play them over the air just because we can't trust people. But I've gotten the weirdest calls before, but I get calls from my family sometimes. I get calls from my friends.
Aunt Mabel call you?
Yeah, you know, I've gotten calls from friends in Michigan asking me to play a song because, like I said, we've got that online platform. You can listen wherever you want.
Yeah.
So, we can record the phone calls because I know we had one guy that was kind of getting aggressive once.
Oh god.
So we can record the phone calls and listen to them later. But we usually save you call in to make a song request or something like that.
Okay.
Or to just breathe heavily into the receiver. We've gotten that before too.
This is the question.
Yeah. It's always interesting.
Do you have a favorite segment that you have recorded?
I think it has to be the live performance with the
acoustic?
the acoustic performance, just because it was so raw and it was a test of talent, I think, for both of us. Just me being able to keep up with him and
Yeah.
keep a conversation going, which can be hard, and then him being able to perform live and have actual good vocals over the air. So
That's cool. Do you think there are any specific qualifications needed to be a host on the radio?
have an appreciation for music and be willing to open yourself up to listening to new things and trying new things and meeting new people. Because I think quickly you learn that you can't be shy and you can't be reserved in a job or a school position. That's all about reaching out to people and being open. Because being on the radio is being open and you're sharing your voice with everyone. So you have to realize that it's important.
Yeah.
And just not everyone's going to agree with you, but you just have to speak your mind. So
I like it.
You're doing a great job.
thank you.
Yeah. You're both like amazing.
I guess that about wraps up the first episode of the podcast. We thank you, Marcus and Hannah, for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Any shout outs to social media handles again, just to reinforce that?
Say your names again.
You already know what it is. It's alright, so it's Marques Ruiz, right? That's my name. But my Instagram name is at like the words 1.26. So it's 1.26. You gotta spell all that out.
And I'm Hannah Larkin, and mine is at next of Larkin. So
Thank y'all for coming.
thank you.
Hey, it's lit.
Well, that's all we got for y'all tonight. Thanks for listening to the Short Line Review. Once again, big thanks to Hannah and Marcus for joining us. Y'all were some amazing guests and dropped a lot of valuable knowledge. For more podcasts like this, go to shortlinereview.com. Our executive editor is Marwa Adina, and Dina Augusti is our director of communications and media. I'm your producer, Slater King, signing out. We'll be back real soon, so it's not goodbye. Just good night.